He went undercover to check how customers were treated. What he overheard confirmed his suspicions. He parked his old Ford Ranger outside, engine protesting as he turned off. Dusty blue, paint chipped, duct tape on the driver's seat. He blended in, looking like he'd just left a job site. No one recognized him, the man who signed payroll checks here. The dealership was average, not big, not flashy. He'd bought it, rebranded it, hired young, paid well. But lately, whispers of poor treatment towards Black and Latino customers. His assistant had brought him 3 complaints. He wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding, but something told him otherwise. So he walked in, unnoticed. A salesman, mid-30s, thinning hair, called out dryly, "Need help?" The CEO turned, said he was looking for a used truck. The salesman pointed towards the trucks. No walkthrough, no handshake, no welcome. Meanwhile, another salesman greeted a white couple enthusiastically. "Welcome in, y'all. Can I get your coffee or water while we take a look? AC's working just fine inside too, by the way," the CEO overheard. He examined a silver Sierra 1500, asked about its history. The salesman's lack of knowledge and engagement became clear. The CEO took notes, then asked questions before test driving. The salesman's attitude shifted when the CEO mentioned a polo shirt and a lease, implying he was a potential long-term customer. The CEO stood by the silver Sierra 1500, hands on his hips, staring at the dent on the passenger door. The salesman, a man named Tom, according to his name tag, stood a few feet away, arms crossed, clearly waiting for the CEO to move on. But the CEO didn't move. He wasn't just looking at a dent. He was looking at a story of how this truck got here, who drove it, what happened to it. He could see the faint scuffs on the bumper, the slight wear on the steering wheel. This wasn't a showroom model, fresh off the lot. This was a truck with history, and he wanted to know it. Tom shifted his weight, checked his watch. The CEO ignored him. He bent down, looked under the truck. No signs of recent repairs, no leaks, no obvious issues. He stood back up, walked around to the driver's side. The window was slightly tinted, not enough to hide anything, but enough to suggest the previous owner liked their privacy. He could see the faint outline of a sticker on the back windshield, barely visible under the glass. A reminder of a past registration, maybe. He made a mental note to ask about it. Tom cleared his throat. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice laced with impatience. The CEO nodded but didn't answer. He was too busy thinking. He walked back to the passenger side, opened the door, and sat inside. The seat was comfortable, not new, but not worn out. The dashboard was clean, no cracks, no scratches. The radio was set to a classic rock station, the volume low. He turned it off, then turned the key in the ignition. The engine purred to life, smooth, no hesitation. He let it idle for a moment, listening to the rhythm, feeling the vibrations under his feet. It was a good truck, a solid truck, but it needed someone who cared to tell its story. The CEO stepped out of the truck, closed the door softly. He looked at Tom, then past him, to the showroom where the couple was still laughing with the other salesman. He thought about the contrast, the warmth, the enthusiasm. He thought about the way Tom had treated him, the lack of effort, the clear dismissiveness. He thought about the complaints Melinda had brought him, the quiet voices of customers who felt unseen, unheard, and he made a decision. "I'd like to speak to your manager," he said, his voice steady, calm. Tom blinked, surprised. "What for?" he asked, his guard up. The CEO just smiled, a small, tight smile. "Just a few questions," he said. Then he walked towards the showroom, leaving Tom standing alone by the silver Sierra 1500, looking confused, looking wary, and looking for the first time like he might have made a mistake. He ignored the salesman's question and left. The CEO didn't chase after him. Instead, he got into the Sierra, drove around, and returned. Inside, the showroom was bustling, yet no one acknowledged him. He approached the receptionist, asked about the Sierra, and was met with a cold stare and minimal assistance. The salesman returned, eager to discuss pricing. The CEO noticed a young black man waiting nearby, ignored. He watched as the man left without assistance. The CEO's patience thinned. At the desk, the salesman pushed for add-ons, tried to rush the deal. The CEO signed the paper, but his mind was elsewhere. The young man's departure lingered. He turned to the white man who'd complained, delivered a powerful message about fairness and respect. "Mr. Talbot, I didn't mean to." "That's the problem." Andre cut in. "You don't mean to, but you still do." There was a silence in the room now, not the awkward kind, the kind that comes when everyone knows what was just said can't be ignored anymore. Andre turned toward the finance manager. "How long have you been working here?" The man straightened. 3 years, sir. "And how many times have you seen something like this happen?" The manager looked down, hesitant. "That's what I thought." Andre turned back to the desk, picked up the pen again, not to sign the paperwork, but to cross out his name. One strong line, straight through the contract. "I won't be buying anything today," he said, loud enough for the room. The salesman's jaw dropped. "But it's a solid truck. We're already halfway through the paperwork. You didn't sell me that truck." Andre said, "I was already sold when I came in. You just gave me a reason not to close." A pause. Then he added, "And after today, you're done." The salesman blinked. What? "You're fired. Effective immediately." The manager took a cautious step forward. "Should I call HR?" "No need," Andre replied. "I'll handle it personally." The man stood there, stunned. Andre didn't ask him to leave. He didn't need to. The silence from every corner of the room was louder than any goodbye. He turned back toward the other employees watching from behind desks and corners. "If you think your job is to move vehicles, you're in the wrong business. Your job is to serve people, all people. The truck is the product. Trust is the sale." He let that sink in. Then softer now, almost like he was speaking to himself, he added, "I built this place so folks wouldn't have to feel like they were proving something just to be taken seriously. And if I have to tear it down to fix that, I will." But just when it seemed like the message had landed, something unexpected would push him even further. Andre turned to leave. He wasn't storming out. He walked with the quiet certainty of a man who knew who he was. But before he could take more than a few steps, the customer in the khakis, the one who had complained earlier, opened his mouth again. "You think you're teaching some lesson? That's great and all, but you can't fire a guy just because your feelings got hurt." Andre stopped. He didn't turn around right away. He closed his eyes for a second, jaw set, holding back the wave building in his chest. When he turned back, his face was unreadable, but his voice was low and steady. "I didn't fire him because my feelings got hurt." Andre said, "I fired him because he doesn't know how to treat people with basic respect." "There's a difference." The man scoffed, arms folded. "You're overreacting. So he didn't roll out a red carpet for you. Big deal. That's not racism. That's just maybe he was having a bad day." Andre stepped forward, closing the distance between them by half. "You know what's wild?" he said, voice calm, but louder now. "I want to believe that. I wish it was just a bad day. I wish it was a one-off. But it's not. I've got complaint emails from customers who look like me, telling me the exact same things I lived through today. And now, I've seen it for myself." He pointed around the showroom. "I watched a young man walk out without anyone saying a word to him. I watched this team ignore someone standing at the door, not once, not twice, but consistently. That's not one bad day. That's a culture." A hush had fallen again. The few customers still in the building had stopped browsing. Eyes darted toward Andre, some with curiosity, others with guilt. The man shrugged. "Whatever. Seems like you're just pulling the race card to feel important." The sentence hit like a slap in the face. Andre took a slow step forward. His voice didn't rise, but it carried more weight than anything he'd said before. "You don't know what it's like to walk into a room and feel the temperature change because of how you look. You don't know what it's like to be asked what you do for a living before anyone shakes your hand. You don't know what it's like to have someone explain a contract to you like you can't read." He shook his head. "And maybe you never will. But don't you dare stand here and pretend it doesn't happen, not when you just watched it." The man didn't respond. Andre looked around the room again. He wasn't speaking to just one person anymore. He was speaking to all of them. "I didn't grow up with much. My mom cleaned motels. My dad laid concrete until his back gave out. They didn't have connections, no backup plan, just pride. They taught me to work hard and never make excuses. I didn't make excuses when people called me names or locked their car doors when I walked by or watched me shop like I was going to steal something. He paused, his voice cracked slightly. Not with weakness, but with truth. I made it anyway. I built something, and I made damn sure to treat people better than how I was treated. That's why this matters. Because what we do here, how we greet people, how we answer their questions, how we make them feel, it says everything about who we are. He let the silence return. No one interrupted. Then slowly, the man who had caused the scene turned and left. No apology, no words, just walked out. Andre looked at the employees one last time. This place needs to change, starting today. But just as he thought the moment had passed, someone spoke up, and it wasn't who he expected. From the far end of the showroom, a quiet voice broke through the silence. "Mr. Talbot." It came from a young woman near the service counter, mid-20s, soft-spoken, hair pulled into a tight bun. Andre turned to her slowly. He recognized her. Barely. She worked part-time in the back office, mostly behind the scenes with paperwork and invoices. Her name escaped him for a second. "Danica," she said gently, almost as if she could read his mind. He nodded. "Danica, right." She stepped forward. Voice steady now. "I've been here almost a year. I've seen things. Things I wanted to say something about, but I figured no one would care." Andre didn't say anything. He let her keep going. "I've seen how certain customers get passed off, how the tone changes depending on who walks in. And when I tried to bring it up to a manager once, quietly, I got told to mind my pay grade. So I did. I stopped talking." Andre's face didn't move, but something in his eyes softened. Danica looked around the room. She wasn't just speaking to him now. "I thought it would change eventually, that someone higher up would notice. But maybe we all thought someone else was going to say something." Andre took a slow breath, then walked toward her. "I appreciate you saying it now," he said. She nodded. It needed to be said. He turned back to the rest of the room. Everyone looked different now. Some were ashamed, some were unsure. A few avoided eye contact altogether. "I didn't come here to embarrass anyone," Andre said, "but I had to know for myself. I had to see what's been hiding behind politeness and excuses." He looked back at the receptionist, who was now staring down at her desk. "You knew something was off too, didn't you?" She didn't answer at first, then quietly, "Yeah, why didn't you say anything?" "I didn't want to lose my job." Andre nodded slowly. "I get that. But silence lets this stuff grow. The longer we stay quiet, the worse it gets. And then one day we look around and realize the place we work in doesn't look anything like the place we believed we were building." He paused. Accountability isn't just about pointing fingers. It's about fixing what's broken. Together, the room stayed still, like they were waiting for the next shoe to drop. Andre stepped back toward the desk where the paperwork still sat. The half-filled contract, the crossed-out signature, the pen. He picked up the business card he'd dropped earlier and held it up. "This card doesn't mean I know everything. It just means I've got a little power. But what good is that if I can't use it to make things better?" He looked over at the fired salesman's desk. Empty now. "I'm not just making one example. I'm changing how we do things here. Starting today." He looked toward Danica. "You want to help me with that?" She blinked. "Me? Yes. You've seen what needs fixing. That makes you valuable. I want someone on the inside who isn't afraid to speak up when something feels wrong. Can you do that?" Her voice trembled just slightly. "Yes, I can." Andre smiled. The first real smile of the day. "Good. Let's get started." He turned to the rest of the staff. "There will be a meeting tomorrow morning. Mandatory. We're rewriting some things. Not just on paper. In how we show up. For everyone. Let his words hang for a beat." Then walked toward the front doors. The sun outside was blinding, but he welcomed it. As he stepped back into the heat, his phone buzzed. A text from Melinda. "Everything okay?" he typed back. "Not yet. but it will be. But there was still one more thing left to do. Something that would close the loop on what he came here for. Andre didn't get into the old Ford Ranger right away. Instead, he walked past it, toward the sidewalk, toward the street, scanning left and right. He was looking for someone, and just when he started to think it might be too late, he saw him, the young man from earlier. He was standing under the shade of a bus stop across the road, headphones in, folder still tucked under his arm, same faded hoodie, same quiet posture. He was staring off down the street, waiting for something that wasn't coming anytime soon. Andre crossed quickly. "Hey," he called out. The young man looked over, cautious. Andre slowed as he approached, raising one hand like a peace offering. "Don't mean to startle you. I saw you earlier in the showroom." The kid pulled out one earbud. "Yeah? You were waiting to be helped. But nobody did." The young man nodded once. Wasn't the first time. Andre tilted his head. "You come here often? I've been looking for a truck. Something used. Nothing fancy. Been to 5 places in the last 2 weeks. Same story every time." Andre sighed. "What's your name?" "Ezekiel." "Ezekiel," Andre repeated. "I'm Andre. I own that dealership over there." Ezekiel's eyebrows lifted. "You're serious. Dead serious." Ezekiel chuckled once. Not bitter, just surprised. "Man, I thought you were just another guy getting the same treatment." Andre gave a small smile. "I was." He stepped closer, lowering his voice a little. "I came dressed like this on purpose, to see how my team was treating people when they didn't know who they were dealing with. What I saw today, I'm not okay with it." Ezekiel studied him. "So what now?" Andre reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "You still need a truck." Ezekiel nodded slowly. "Come back in with me. Not as a customer this time, as my guest. I want you to sit down with Danica. She's someone I trust. And we'll find you something reliable that fits your budget. You'll get the respect you should have gotten the moment you walked in." Ezekiel didn't answer right away. He looked at the building behind them, then back at Andre. His voice was low. "You don't have to do that." "I know," Andre said. "But I want to." There was a long pause. Then Ezekiel gave a nod. A real one, the kind that says, "All right, I'm in." They crossed the street together side by side, and as they stepped through the glass doors again, something felt different. People noticed. Employees stood straighter. A few looked ashamed, but no one turned away. Danica was already at the front, ready. She nodded once at Andre, then greeted Ezekiel with a kindness that felt like it had been missing for too long. Andre didn't hover. He stood back, arms folded, just watching. This was why he started this business in the first place. Not just to sell vehicles, but to build something better. Something honest. He'd made a decision that day about the kind of leader he wanted to be. Not just a CEO, but a man who stood up for what was right. He drove away, determined to make change, to leave a legacy that mattered.